Look, I think that people need to be able to defend themselves, but obviously we've elevated the political landscape to where people are now having to arm themselves to do their job, and that's simply unacceptable. I also hire people that are part of my team that are security, and it's unfortunate that we have to do that, but I mean, social media doesn't help. People become fixated, they become obsessive. I think people should understand that lawmakers are people too. We have families. I have a 1-year-old at home. So we're up here representing the needs and the wills of our constituents, and so they have to understand that the United States is a very politically diverse, ideologically as well.
But we have had threats against my district staff, and that's something that's never okay with me. I accept that people are going to be upset with me sometimes, particularly if we're not politically aligned, but threatening my staff is something that's a hard red line.
Look, I mean, there's just an increasing level of violence, and I guess the one thing that does frustrate me is Republicans will always speak up when that violence is aimed at Republicans, okay? You know, and then they don't say anything about Donald Trump's rhetoric, and they think it's a joke, apparently, when Nancy Pelosi's house and her husband is attacked. So if they could be bipartisan in understanding the threat of violence instead of making it look like they simply use it for partisan political advantage, that would help. And yes, I've had that conversation directly with Speaker Johnson. You know, I mean, you can't just condemn it when it's coming at the right.
Yeah, they're very real. They're so real that an innocent woman in my hometown was killed this past weekend when officers were responding to a pipe bomb threat at my house. You know, political violence is unacceptable, and I think we have serious issues with it. I'll also say this, you know, we don't have enough police officers. And every department, whether it's Capitol Police to D.C. Metro to New York City to Atlanta to even the town I live in, there's a lack of police officers everywhere, and I really hope that can change as soon as possible.
Well, I just thought that we were living in a much more sane world. When you look at I gave a floor speech yesterday. We saw the strangulation of a man on a subway in New York City the other day, 30 years old, was homeless, crying out that he was hungry and thirsty. We had a veteran, 24 years of age, that has not learned to de-escalate after coming out of war. And so I saw victims on all sides. This soldier took it into his own life to become a vigilante, strangled a man on a subway in New York City, a 30-year-old man that didn't have access to the food and water, that was going through a mental breakdown. He's had challenges, and then the jury comes back, so they become desensitized. The president hasn't said a word about a man being strangled by another civilian, a citizen, on a New York subway. I don't think this should be the new normal.
We are here because we're trying to serve our constituents, and this kind of swatting or threatening behavior, or even frankly when we are followed and harassed while we walk around, it makes it very difficult for us to fully represent our communities because it has a chilling effect on all of us. And I think what Americans want is for us to be able to show up at town halls, to be able to show up in public, and when these things happen, it's less likely that people will do these public events because they feel unsafe.